Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Waine. I'm an astrologer, and I'm happy to be back with you now to look at the June forecast. I started doing these forecasts last month in May 2022, and this is my next iteration of my Facebook Lives. For a good few years, I was doing intimate astrology with Jen Waine, and I hit the pause button on that. And so I'm really excited to be experimenting with YouTube and hopefully reaching a few new folks this way. So hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's dive into June, shall we? So June begins with Saturn going retrograde. And that's going to happen actually just the day after Mercury goes direct. So let's take a look at our dates together. So on Friday the 3rd, Mercury goes forward. So communications, technology, short trips, those kinds of things are going to start to smooth out a little bit. If it's been a bumpy Mercury retrograde for you the past few weeks, just know that that is changing direction. And then the day after, Saturn retrogrades, that's Saturday the 4th. And I want to talk a little bit about Saturn because the Saturn energy is really present for us right now. So Saturn brings a vibe that is very heavy, very somber, very sober, very cautious, can bring up a lot of fear, and a lot to do with responsibility, a lot to do with accountability. You might find that you're giving or receiving corrections. And it's very uncomfortable because it's the energy of authority that is speaking to you. And so it's like, you're like a 5-year-old who is getting scolded for having done something wrong. And it's a very potent energy right now where, like I said, a lot about responsibility, a lot about accountability, a lot about boundaries. So it's about erecting a firm line in the sand, maybe even erecting a structure, saying, no more. I'm putting my foot down. Here is the line in the sand. And there are two reasons that there's so much Saturn in the air. First of all, Saturn is saturating the sky because of this imminent retrograde on the 4th. And second of all, Saturn is squaring the nodes. And we know that whenever a planet is interacting with the North Node and the South Node, that planet is supercharged. And Saturn has been sitting with the nodes for quite a while now and will for the rest of 2022. And so it's a very powerful, amped up Saturn. So just know that if you're feeling this, and you might feel it also in the sense of like you're hitting a wall, you feel like there are restrictions, you feel like you want to grow, you want to expand, and you're getting no, no, no. That's the energy of Saturn. So know that that's with us and extra potent around a few days before and a few days after the 4th. But continuing as a very heavy hitter for the rest of 2022. So there's that. And then I also want to speak to Mars. We spoke a lot about this Mars Aries energy in the May forecast because hopefully you sensed that shift. We went from a very sleepy, dreamy, foggy, mystical place of a lot of Piscean energy into a lot of planets in Aries, particularly Mars and Jupiter is what we're looking at right now. And that's the take action, assert yourself. Again, it's part of the no more. It's part of the drawing the line in the sand. It's saying, I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm going to stand up for myself. So in that way, there's a little bit almost of an echo of some of the Saturn vibes that we were just speaking to. And it's like 3 levels of this Mars potentially volatile energy. You've got Mars in Aries, volatile, Jupiter in Aries, volatile, and then Mars and Jupiter right next to each other, volatile. So it's like times 3. It's like on steroids. And it's very inflammatory. It's got a lot of us running really hot. Some of you are talking to me about elevated blood pressure. Some of you are talking to me about migraines. Some of you are talking to me about even like the roof of your mouth being burnt. Okay, so Aries has to do with the head, and it's I think of the cartoon where you have steam coming out of your ears. That's the energy we have with Mars and Aries, Jupiter and Aries, and Mars and Jupiter together. And it's going to be very potent through June 7th. After June 7th, Mars and Jupiter will begin to separate. So the 3 levels of volatility will then go down to 2 levels of volatility for a while. Mars is in Aries until July 5th. Keep an eye on July 4th. We'll be talking more about that in the forecast next month, but that is a very, very sensitive point because Mars will be at 29 Aries on July 4th. I know I'm forecasting ahead a little bit for you. Jupiter will be in Aries until the end of October and then retrograde and then come back into Aries at the beginning of next year. So anyway, that like dialed up 3 times anger and action is kind of dialed down to just 2 as of June 7th. But what's interesting is just a week after that, on June 14th, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, and people are going to be very vocal and very pumped up about their beliefs, and maybe even a bit self-righteous. So that anger combined with the Sagittarius, like, I know what I'm talking about, can lead to some interesting situations around the full moon. So we'll see what's going on with that. And you may be feeling this, you know, even as we're going, you may have, like I had a situation last night with a family member where I just let it rip. I definitely felt that Mars Aries, that Jupiter Aries, that Mars Jupiter, and I couldn't hold my tongue anymore. I had to say something. And a lot of it did have to do with taking responsibility and accountability. So there was the Saturn piece in there as well. But just a caution to be really clear with yourself before you have the type of conversation I had last night, because this is the energy of possible obliteration of relationships, contracts, negotiations, what have you. So be very, very clear and take a deep breath before you launch into that type of dialogue like I had last night. And I'm still feeling it. I'm still feeling it in my nervous system. We're going to talk about nervous systems in a moment. So let's just take a breath around all of that. So let's talk a little bit about nervous systems because they're really amped up right now. 2 reasons I see. One is that, well, first of all, the eclipse portal closed. During May, we were in the eclipses, and that was part of us feeling like everything was unwieldy and the glitter was in the air, feeling unsettled. And that's chilled out, but there are 2 things that are amping up our stressors in terms of how we're regulating our nervous systems. One is we are in Gemini season, and Gemini is very analytic and has to do with thinking. And I always put out the analogy, it's like Gemini can handle 46 balls in the air, and we're all a little extra Gemini right now. But when the 47th comes, it is anxiety, it is overwhelm. So, staying up late, thinking, lots of potential catastrophizing, even that is definitely part of the energy that's right now. And that's Gemini season with a couple of other things woven into it that's elevating this kind of nervous buzz. So it's not eclipses anymore. It is, I really think it has a lot to do with Uranus getting closer and closer to the North Node. Because when we have a planet sitting on the North Node or the South Node or aspecting it, it's extra strong. And so just like Saturn squaring the nodes. So now is really a time throughout June because Uranus isn't actually going to touch the North Node. It's inching closer. That's not going to happen until July 30th. So that's a buildup through June and through July. So this is a kind of potentially nerve-wracking summer, especially those of us who are sensitive and already have an amped up nervous system. So we really want to ground. We really want to take walks out in nature, Epsom salt baths, eating really solid, healthy food, steering clear of caffeine. I can't do a lick of caffeine right now. Watching how much sugar you take in, that type of thing. So let's take a look at what's happening with Uranus and the North Node, because that actually also ties into Venus. On the 11th, Venus and Uranus are going to touch, and then the North Node is in range of them. And so this is about upgrading what we value, about getting really clear about what matters, what we truly appreciate, and elevating our resources, upgrading our resources, and innovating how we go about what we care about. So when Uranus comes in, so Uranus, Venus touch on the 11th, Uranus is like an electric bolt, or like a lightning bolt, an éclair, as we would say in French. And then Venus is your wallet. Venus is your heart. Venus is your rose garden. So it's everything that you really care about. And it's everything that's very sweet and brings you connection and softness and satisfaction and self-worth. Your self-worth is deeply tied to your Venus as well. So when Uranus comes into your Venus, there can be either some excitement, or there can be some kind of surprise, or some kind of destabilization that can happen. So I'm a little bit curious to see, actually quite a bit curious to see what's going to happen with the stock market and that type of thing. And so what we're looking at is we're looking at Venus, Uranus, also a configuration. North Node is there. So it's about the path forward as a collective. And it's about how do we elevate the resources for everyone? How do we make food available to everyone? It's not just our bank account, okay? And it's Venus with Uranus, with North Node, and Mercury right there as well. So Mercury suggests that it may also impact your employment, okay? So these are some things moving through in mid-June, but that, like I said, that Uranus North Node, you know, Venus is in range with that through June 19th, but that's going to continue, the Uranus North Node part, all the way through July 30th. So surprises about our path forward. Keep an eye on that theme. So that's a lot. That's a lot going on this month. And I really feel like this time period has an echo of March 2020, when the pandemic began. And back then, Mars and Jupiter were together. Back then, there was a big saturation of Saturn energy, also Pluto energy, which we're getting right now through other parts of the configuration in the sky. So two closing ideas to share with you. One I saw on a license plate when I was driving today. It said, "Be kind, we're all idiots." I love that. Be kind, we're all idiots. That's going to be my motto for June. I also pulled a card from the Divine Feminine Megan Watterson deck. Pope Joan. The possibilities are limitless because the soul is limitless. And I really feel like this ties into that Venus, Uranus, North Node. The possibilities are limitless because the soul is limitless. So there might be some amazing breakthroughs, some genius ideas that pour in the month of June. So be on the lookout. Let me know. Please share with me. Couple of things. If you would like to do a chart reading with me, I have donated a chart reading to a virtual auction that is donating all proceeds to eradicating gun violence. And this is on Instagram. I will share a link for you all to access this. And we priced it really low at 50% of the value of a reading. So if you want to get a really good deal on a chart reading with me, please go ahead and bid on this so that we can put our dollars, our Venus, towards what matters, what we care about. Venus is in Taurus right now in her home territory. What matters is our kids and our safety and feeling like we are at peace. So if you'd like to do a reading with me, that'd be a great way to do so. You can always book through me as well if you feel like you just want to make sure you get a reading in. Also, Sanctuary is a program that I do every morning, and we're rebooting starting June Sanctuary Friday, June 3rd. So if your nervous system is feeling hyped up and you're looking for a way to, please consider joining us for Sanctuary. If you'd like a guest pass, just reach out to me and you can join us and taste it for a practice and see if it's something that might resonate with you. We meet every weekday morning. It's an amazing anchor that's very grounding. I call it my sanity guardrails. Last but not least, I have a Patreon community and I write a daily astrological forecast every evening for the following day that lands in your email. So if you would like to move through all these little parts and pieces that I spoke about and get more guidance daily, please consider joining my Patreon community that starts at $5 a month. And the most sharing that I do is in Sanctuary in the mornings. So that's a very embodied way to calm the system and also learn how to navigate and learn how to feel, how to tap into the celestial bodies. So I wish you a really peaceful month. I hope that you're feeling well and grounded and steady, and drop me a line. Let me know how the energies are feeling to you. Thank you so much for watching. If this was valuable to you, please share it with someone that you care about who's astro curious. Please give it a like. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. And let's keep these going. I'll see you in July. July is going to be really big, so I definitely want to be back to talk with you about that. All right, take good care.